Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another Walking Dead video. So in this one here, I really wanted to focus on, I guess, the future of Rick Grimes and the CRM. And I really wanted to talk about like what, it could look like after The Ones Who Live is over, just like sort of the direction of the CRM and like what they could really focus on with this community here. And again, if we get a season 2 of the show, then I think it'll be pretty simple at that point. It's just, okay, we get a season 2. But I'm assuming like, if we don't get a season 2 at all, like what's going to happen afterwards with the CRM storyline, and just, I want to talk about the state of all of that, because the CRM storyline is a very, very big storyline. It's not like introducing another group like, like the governor at Woodbury, or even the Saviors. And like the Saviors was a pretty big arc. Like even the Whisperers, like two villain groups that were honestly like relatively small and not really that threatening when compared to the CRM, right? Yet they played a big role in the story overall, especially the Saviors, because they're still playing a role technically in the story on Dead City. So yeah, I wanted to talk about that because I feel like the CRM is a group that really is not going to go away for a while. And I think that we're really like with The Ones Who Live, we are just getting started with this group, and we're going to learn a lot about this place. So before we go any further, obviously make sure to be a subscriber if you do want to get all my Walking Dead content like this. The Walking Dead The Ones Who Live is premiering in 3 days from now. So today, I'm just going to focus on this video. I might do another one later on, but I do have to do a memberships video, which by the way, if you are a member of the channel, thank you so much for all the support. I will be posting a video most likely later on today or tomorrow. And yeah, again, we have 3 more days until The Walking Dead The Ones Who Live premieres. And so I really want to like get all the video ideas out there that I really won't be able to do as soon as the show premieres, right? And that's like a video like this. Because once the show is on, we're going to be talking about that show like nonstop. It's going to be about this storyline. Oh, what does this mean? What does this mean? Like every single day, right? So we won't be able to talk about the future and all of that. And so I kind of wanted to get into this right now. But if you do want to get my reviews and all of that for, The Ones Who Live, my trailer breakdowns and all of that, then definitely make sure to be a subscriber. Now, obviously, everyone wants to focus a lot on, the future of Rick Grimes. Like, are we going to see Rick and Michonne after The Ones Who Live? Like assuming that this is sort of a 6-episode event. I mean, they are starting to promote it like that right now, but that's sort of just kind of stating what it is, because that's sort of in general what it's always been. It's a 6-episode event, but that could also still get a season 2. Like they could still do that if they want to, right? Like they're not saying that, no, this is it, we're just doing this, there's no season 2. They're all being very open about it. So like I actually did a poll on the Discord, and I asked a lot of you guys, what do you think happens after The Ones Who Live is over? And everyone basically seems to be voting the option that after the show is over, there's going to be, a lot of talk about, yeah, we could do a season 2, this and that, but there's going to be no official confirmation. There's just going to be a lot of like, yeah, well, we'll see, there's some plans or there's talks. Or I feel like it's really going to be a lot of that until like Comic-Con or something like that. Like it's going to be something so frustrating because it feels like that's sort of always been the experience. Like it's just like we want answers on this and that, and it always takes so long to get some answers, right? So I feel like we're probably going to wait a while before we even find out about season 2. But again, it depends. It depends on the ending to the show. Like that's the thing. It really depends on the ending. That's why I wanted to talk about the CRM. Like I know that we'll talk about Rick and Michonne and all that, but I really wanted to focus on the CRM because it doesn't seem like they play the biggest role in the show until episode 5, at least based off of the early reviews. Like they say that it seems like there's some details that we learned. There's like some stuff that's introduced, and it's sort of very, very exciting. But like by the time episode 4 happens, you're sort of in a place where it's just like, okay, this is just beginning kind of thing. Like it feels like we're just getting started with something, which is, to me, I mean, that's exciting if they're doing a season 2 because that's proper build up, right? Like you're building up the characters and the story properly. But if it's only 6 episodes, then that's a little, I'm worried about that, because then the last 2 episodes, if you're ending the whole CRM arc that fast, like, I don't know, I just don't see how it's possible. I really just do not see how it's possible. And so I know that throughout the first, I feel like for most of it, actually, yeah, for all 6 episodes, we're going to be set in the CRM, right? Like that's going to be the general setting. Yes, they may go away from it for a little bit, but like the CRM, just that storyline in general is going to be the big storyline here of the 6 episodes, right? We're going to see either Jadis or CRM soldiers or Major General Beale here and there. Like that's just kind of what it feels like overall. Like we're still going to see a lot of that, but a lot of the bigger questions and all of that, I don't think is going to really come out until like later on, because the first 4 episodes really seem to be focused on Rick and Michonne. And that's the thing, that the next 2 also could be really focused on Rick and Michonne, right? Because that is the point of this series. The point of this series is to focus on telling the story of Rick and Michonne reuniting. Like, that really is, I think, their approach. I think originally with the movie trilogy, it was probably more focused on the CRM and whatnot, and then obviously, like I think the first movie would have focused more on that, and then the third movie would have focused more on that, with like maybe some Rick and Michonne stuff in the second movie, and then obviously it would happen a lot in the other ones, right? But like, you gotta tell that story differently now because you have a TV show. So I think that, yes, focusing on that reunion and like properly telling that story, to me, I think is like, I'm so happy that 4 episodes in, they're still focused on a lot of that, right? Like, I do think they're probably going to reunite in episode 3. And I think that in 4, you know, they're going to be focused a lot on just like catching up on a lot of stuff. You know, I heard Denai Guerra actually mention in a recent interview, I don't remember who it was with, but she mentioned something about another show. And basically in that show, there was a lot of like arguing and all of that, because there was like, you know, like you're seeing how much these two characters care about one another, but also there's going to be arguing about this and that. So I really feel like that episode is going to be so perfect to just focus and just like have these characters sit down and talk about a bunch of stuff for like an hour, right? Amazing. Like, honestly, amazing. There's going to be arguments, this and that, but like, it's going to, you know, it's going to be honest. And I'm so excited for that, because you're going to have that build up for 3 episodes. And again, the early reviewers are saying that, you know, at least 3 episodes in, it doesn't seem like the CRM stuff comes up a lot in terms of like the bigger story. Like, you see things here and there that are sort of teased, but like, it's not really, it feels like after 3 or 4 episodes, it's just getting started. So I think that that's perfect. That is like the best thing. Just focus on that, honestly. Focus on Rick and Michonne reuniting, and sort of, you know, tease a lot of the other stuff here and there, you know, show us some of that, because that is the setting that it's set in. But yeah, just focus on telling that story properly with Rick and Michonne. And then we know for episode 5, at least based off of that Entertainment Weekly article, that they were filming or something in May. And I don't know if it was episode 5. It could be the finale. That's the thing. It could have been the finale, but I'm just kind of assuming it's episode 5. And it looks like Jadis, Rick, and Michonne sort of have like this battle kind of thing, where Jadis, I believe, is chasing Rick and Michonne down. And we see a lot of that in the teaser, right? Like, I think Rick and Michonne are in like this yellow truck or whatever, and Jadis is driving beside them. So I'm assuming at this point that Michonne has found Rick, and that, you know, they've both, I guess, left the CRM, or she took Rick, and they're both gone now. And they're both going, there's been a lot of talk that they're going north. So I find that very interesting, because if they're going north, that's opposite of Alexandria and all of that. So I'm just curious on like, why are you going there? And yeah, I mean, Jadis is obviously going to try and get them. And so like, what, does Jadis succeed at that point? There's a lot of questions I have there. The point is, the CRM storyline and their plans and everything about them, like, it really feels like a lot of it is just getting started here in this series. And so, because the CRM, the thing about it, and the reason why I'm bringing this up, is because it is such a massive storyline that has fans very, very excited. And it's because a lot of what they introduced, like, it's not just because, oh, Rick is there. Like, ignore the Rick part of it, honestly. Just focus on the CRM part of it. Like, they're this massive community of like over 200,000 people. They have so much power, like, I guess, in the United States, but there also seems to be like some kind of connection with what is going on with Madame Genet and her group in France, right? And that's where the Daryl Dixon show is set in. Like, there seems to be some connection there, and there's some stuff with variant walkers. It seems like there was some cure stuff going on, or like there's, I don't know, there's something happening there. Like, it seems like they're going in a direction that, you know, obviously has fans very, very excited. People want to know more about, you know, just, is that what Gimple is getting into here? And obviously with Gimple, like, he kind of talked about that recently, where he said that, you know, he has all these plans for a lot of these things, but it's just whether or not he can pivot. And that's kind of what he's been, I think that's what he's really good at doing, honestly. I think that, like, if he feels like, you know, they can really tell the story properly, then he'll give us that whole storyline. But I think he gives us just enough that if they don't get another season, or like if this doesn't happen kind of thing, then, or like say plans change, and like, you know, because The Walking Dead originally was supposed to go on for like 14, 15, 16 seasons. I think with Carol and Daryl leaving to do their own spinoff, and then they would return kind of thing. So like, there was all of these plans, and obviously that, like, Gimple had to like pivot, right? He had to change those plans, and now we have what we have, which I think is so much smarter, to be honest, because the quality is just amazing. And that just leaves me, you know, just wondering about what his original plan is. Like, if The Walking Dead was supposed to go on for that long, and, you know, Daryl and Carol would come back at some point, that kind of says a lot about the Daryl Dixon show, right? It's set in France. Now, again, things can change, but I do feel like at some point they will return, right? And Daryl Dixon, by the way, I'll probably do a video talking about this separately, but it apparently has gotten to season 3 now. So It hasn't officially been announced, but Gimple is working on it. Like I saw a thing of him being asked that at some sort of event or whatever recently. And yeah, they're working on Dead City season 2 right now. And then he mentioned Daryl Dixon season 3. So that I found very interesting because obviously season 2 of Daryl Dixon hasn't aired yet, but it is going to be airing later on this year. Then I think this summer, spring or whatever, they're probably going to film Daryl Dixon season 3. And yeah, that'll be out probably at the same time next year. And I just have a lot of questions on, the state of the CRM after this show. I think a show like Dead City could get into it. And I think it has to. I've talked about this a bit here and there, and Dead City's story for season 1, I think, was perfect for a first season. I think because it was also the first spin-off, and it kind of connected where the story was at, in the final season of The Walking Dead, and just sort of The Walking Dead story in general. It was like the perfect, this is the next phase of The Walking Dead. So you just had a very simple story. We saw the crazy quality of the shows now, and it was just like, okay, this is perfect. It's a good story, right? And then Daryl Dixon obviously got crazier with that story because the variant walkers and all of that, and also just being set in France, it was just so different, and just all of that. And now we have The Ones Who Live, which is like this crazy event, right? Like this really massive event that Dead City, first of all, Daryl Dixon season 2, I'm sure they're going to have variant walkers, and I'm sure the variant walkers are going to be even more insane. There's going to be so much more there. Carol's going to find Daryl. There's all of that to be excited about. And then after that, Dead City season 2, that story needs to be so much better, right? That story can't just focus on just simple stuff. I guess I could, but I just feel like for fans to be really hyped about that story, you do need to get into some stuff with either the CRM at that point. It really depends on, again, where The Ones Who Live ends. And that's why, for me, I personally believe that it's going to end really in two ways. I think there's really only two options when it comes to the CRM and just how the Ones Who Live ends. And I really feel like it's going to end with, one, Rick and Michonne's story is just over. Maybe they don't reunite with everyone, but it's just sort of over. That's it kind of thing. And two, Rick and Michonne's story is not going to end. It's going to continue on, and then we'll get a season 2. Regardless of those two options, I think the CRM story is going to continue. And even if it's not on that show and that show is over, I think we could still see the story in Dead City or other shows, right? And it depends. They could announce another spinoff with other characters or whatever, just characters from The Walking Dead, and then get into more of that storyline. It's really one of those things that it's so hard to say, and it's just the reason why it's so important to me, and the reason why I'm talking about it right now is because the CRM is a storyline that I don't want it to go away after the show is over. And honestly, for me, what I would really, really like is I would really like the Rick and Michonne show to, tell the story of Rick and Michonne reuniting and just really focus on that. And so in the end, this show just kind of ends in a way where it's all right, they're reunited, all that stuff is sort of done. We've told that story, that is done, and now we're a Rick and Michonne, right? And then just, maybe it's left open, but maybe it's sort of told in a way where it's they're together now, they found each other, and that's sort of it. So is that a proper ending to that story? I think we could talk about that if that ends up being the case, because I don't know what fans would really like in terms of an ending to a lot of this, right? Would you like it if Rick and Michonne just made it back to Alexandria and that was it? To me, that just doesn't make a lot of sense because of and I mean in terms of it happening in these 6 episodes. I think that, yeah, that's the ending I want overall. But for that to happen at the end of episode 6, I feel is a lot, especially if by episode 4, Rick and Michonne are just together then, right? And sort of, I guess not just together, but maybe they've been together for a bit, but maybe, that's the episode where they're sort of talking about everything. I just feel ending it right away is a lot. So yeah, I don't know. We can talk about that another time. I really more wanted to focus on the CRM, and I just think that there needs to be more after this, and I want to see more from Major General Beale specifically. And I just feel because of the actor, the actor is Terry O'Quinn, right? Really amazing actor. He played, obviously, in Lost, right? And you have an actor like that, and I'm just we don't even know the character yet, but people are just he could be the new Thanos of all of this, right? And that's sort of I love the fact that everyone's been asking Gimple that, and Gimple obviously he hasn't talked about that a lot. He's just sort of he doesn't want to spoil anything, and so it really is one of those things where the universe here could be so massive. It could really become something so great, but we're just going to have to watch the show and just see where they go. It really depends on the ending to this. And I think once, you know, The Ones Who Live is sort of over, then we'll know like, okay, where are they going now? Where can they go now? Right. And right now it's one of those things that is just very difficult to say, but I think for sure the CRM story will continue for sure. The elements of the CRM and all that definitely will continue on past The Ones Who Live, but you know, there's questions on like, will we see Major General Beale again? And a lot of that, right? I think we could see Jadis again if she does survive the series. So that's sort of my predictions on the future of all of this. You know, I think for sure we can say we'll see all of that in terms of Major General Beale, Rick and Michonne. That's what is sort of difficult about all of it. You know, can we see them past this? I would hope so. I would love that. But it's just, we kind of, at this point, obviously, we're just kind of waiting. And there's a lot of like, I mean, obviously, if you do see a lot of, you know, what Andrew Lincoln has been saying and whatnot, like they seem very open to doing more, but it's just, we have to watch this show, right? And, you know, I do wonder if it's because of the ending. Like, I know that that is a thing with Andrew Lincoln. That's been a thing for a very long time over the years, whenever he talks about the show. And back then, I think we had more confidence that we would get another season because of the fact that it was following the comic, right? We'd be like, well, it's going to follow the comic. But like, you know, back then he would always say the same thing, you know, like what if Rick dies in the finale or what if he dies this season kind of thing. So like, it's not that, you know, different. You know, he's just kind of saying the same things that he's always said. Like, he just wants us to watch this and experience this. He wants the fans to be happy with this, right? I'm excited. You know, I'm very, very happy that the show is only 3 days away. It's honestly insane. We've been waiting for so long for this, and it's only 3 days away. And it's funny because it doesn't really feel like it's 3 days away. It still feels like it's a year or two away, like in my head. Because like, yes, we're getting all the promotion and all that, but we haven't really seen a lot in terms of like, I mean, just the episode. But it was the same thing, obviously, with the Daryl Dixon show and Dead City. It's like as soon as you watch the first episode, then you start to get into it, right? Like once you watch that first one, then you're there in the story. You can't wait for the next one, and then there's all the discussions and all of that. So that's why February 25th is a big day, right? So yeah, only 3 more days away. But post your thoughts down below on like what you see the future of Rick Grimes being and the future of the CRM. Hope you guys all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.